Greetings, fellow travelers, and welcome to the Way of the Showman, where we view the world through the lens of showmanship. I am Captain Frodo, and I will be your host and guide along this circuitous way. Today, I would like to open by saying that one of the glorious things that this podcast makes possible is the connection to people that I might have known, that I might have met, or that I have never met at all. And through then them listening to it, I get introduced to them in a deeper way, and we have a deeper conversation about it. So it was with great astonishment that I looked at my emails one morning and found an email from none other than Mac King. Mac King is an extraordinary comedy magician who has had the longest running show, continuously running show in Las Vegas. I believe we unpacked this a little bit, but and he has an incredibly great reputation within the magic community of being an all-round good guy and having a show which is just a masterclass of structure and character and callbacks, and we're delving into that in today's episode at quite some depth. But my experience and knowledge of Mac King goes right back to the ancient times. As it proves, I was looking a little bit around the internet to try and find out which year Mac King visited the Scandinavian Magic Dealer Association's Magic Weekend in Sweden. And I believe that this might have been, I don't know if it was maybe it was 1989 or maybe it was 1990. Either way, it was kind of before the internet. So I can't, with my limited Google Foo skills, I couldn't find the exact year, but I have known of him and been impressed by, as you will hear in this conversation, I was impressed by his scripting. So the way that his show is not just one trick after the other, but a beautifully choreographed and well-paced act, which takes every little bit, every little possible catchphrase, every little detail that seems random along the way gets tied up beautifully and neatly in the end like a bow. And this was already very apparent to me when I was a child, and I can't think of anyone else that I saw before that had this beautiful kind of routining, not just within individual routines, but on the greater level. So that has been it was influential on me, and it was wonderful then when I woke up to finding an email and actually finding in the email that he says he has written a review for this show. Which is a great idea if there's anyone listening to this out there now that thinks, oh, maybe I too should write a review, because that not only does it greatly cheer me up that somebody who listens actually takes the time to just write a short thing, but to read Mac's words was just absolutely wonderful. So that gets me all worked up here. Anyway, he says there that he thinks Captain Frodo is a guide of the highest order, and I take that compliment very dear to heart. So, he did that, and anyway, because he had sent me this email, I seized on that opportunity and said, oh, maybe we could have a little chat on the podcast, and he graciously accepted. And what you are about to hear today is the first part of this conversation. So, without further carrying on, let's jump into the world of ideas with Mac King. You discovered the podcast after the pandemic.
Yeah, really. I mean, only like 6 months ago.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, Nick Difatte, we were, I don't know how well you knew Max Maven.
I didn't know Max Maven personally.
So my wife is Max's executor.
Okay.
So I've been going back and forth to LA a bunch, working on some stuff for that to help her out. And Nick has been helping me. And so in the drive to LA, he said, "Have you heard Frodo's podcast?" I'm like, "No, I didn't know anything about it." And so we started listening in the car. I mean, he'd already listened to a lot of it, but he was kind enough to listen to it again. And I was crying in the car listening, just like, "I'm not crying, you're crying."
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was tremendous.
But it's also because you then mentioned, which is sort of interesting. When I listened back to some of those original episodes that happened during the pandemic, there was part of me that was like ambivalent about how much it was sort of placed in the time of the pandemic. And I was for a while, because to me, like the things that I'd written and the things that I've carefully crafted to put into the thing, they were kind of like what felt like to me, you said we needed a framework to contact each other via email. And that was my framework to justify having podcast, that I actually had something to say. Like you have to have an act to show. And I was sort of wondering, should I remove all of that stuff where I'm just about the thing? But I think for some of the emotional response, particularly from that first kind of season of the first 21 shows, the rawness of some of that, where I was moved just talking about it and voicing it. So
yeah, well, I was really moved listening to it, but I spent months. I'd get up, have coffee, read, eat, go to bed. I mean, it was fucking terrible, and just in a funk. And I'm sure it wore on my wife and me, and but we did some stuff. I mean, our daughter came home for a little while from New York and lived here, and then we moved to Kentucky for a few months, and where my wife and I are both from, and we drove to New York a couple of times and drove to Kentucky a couple of times, but not working. There was during the pandemic, there was they contacted me from a museum in Louisville, Kentucky, my hometown, and they were working on a thing about Kentuckians, famous Kentuckians. And so they must be pretty strapped for people, because I was one of those people. And so they wanted to shoot a little video of me performing, and they had like a little, recreation of a Kentucky bourbon plant with a little tasting room, and a little speakeasy with a stage in the corner. And they would you do a little show in here? We can't bring too many people in because of the restrictions, and everybody will be in a masks, and they'll all be sitting in individual chairs, spaced throughout the room. I'm like, I would so love to do that.
Yeah.
And so it was only like 10 minutes, but I hadn't done a show at that point in probably 4 or 5 months. And my daughter was with me. And at the time, I think she was 20, maybe 19 or 20. And I'm only doing 10 minutes, and I'm not getting anybody on stage. So there's no real interaction. But I'm just putting stuff in my coat pockets and getting ready. And my daughter looks at me and she says, "Are you crying?" Yeah, I am crying. Yeah. I get to stand in front of 8 people in a room that's supposed to seat 100.
It's like it's like the negative way of describing it, I think, is that we are, in a sense, sort of show junkies.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. It's a so big much. Fucking drug. And, we all, those of us who are junkies like that, I mean, terrible withdrawal. I mean, it's
how was that for your wife? Like, how were you in relation? Because my wife makes it clear that when I'm not working, then I am a lesser man. Not because I'm not doing the shows, but because I just get, I don't know, I'm not quite myself if I don't have regular coming up. So how does it affect your mood in the?
Oh yeah, of
in the
course.
whole?
Yeah, my wife's ongoing joke. She's got like a running gag that's like, I know what's wrong with you. No one laughed and applauded for you for 3 whole days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did think, and in one of the podcasts, I did think because to me, of course, it's not just that it is this. Well, maybe the shallow way is to say that it is just the applause and boosting of the ego. But of course, for me, it's so much more because there's so much of my purpose in life and the thing that makes the ridiculousness of all the stuff I gather, have around me, all the things I think about, they are so useless. This thing doesn't exist, and it hadn't happened before that it became illegal to do what we were doing. And it just sort of, because I think of myself as somebody with a great variety of skills. I can do family entertainment, and I can do perform. I can do work on events. I can do all this, but everything comes down to me being in front of another group of people. And when that became, it hit me so hard, and that's when I sort of came up with this idea that it's like a home that I can only get to when there's an audience there, where all these great things that I make up in my imagination, that's like this castle in the sky that I have, and I invite the audience to come with me, and I have all these great things. In this room is the tennis rackets, and in this room are the cans, and here are my spoon, and here is the magic, and I can take them to these different things and show them. And when they're not there, I can't get in there. And then all those, it's so weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I've just started season 2, but and you're describing your process. There's the first couple of episodes where you're describing putting together a show, but it's shit. I completely lost my train of thought.
No, you're just watching the second season, and I was just talking about how the way of how the show is a second home or whatever.
Yeah. I don't.
Anyway,
I don't remember what I had some idea, something about that. Shit, I don't know.
Oh,
I'm getting old, man.
Yeah. That's interesting because I'm getting old too. And
what did you say on your birthday? You're like 48 or something?
I'm 47.
Oh, 47. Sorry. I don't mean to.
I'm still a young. How old are you,
you're
though?
a very young man. I'll be 64 this year.
Oh, wow. Like in the Beatles song.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Will you still need me?
I sure will.
Okay.
And there's so many people that will need you. And with that, though, like I came up with, started doing my tennis act in the end of the 90s, 1998. And I was young and I had hair. And
all over. Yeah.
All over. Yeah. And then now, I'm older, and when I was doing a gig at this circus that I've been doing the last 3 years together, in more sort of traditional circus, it's in a theme park where they were a little bit nervous about me having my pierced nipples and tattoos and stuff. So I said, at certain corporate events, I have worn a shirt. And after that, doing that 9 weeks of shows with that thing on, I have since then performed with it on, and in a strange way, it somehow boosted me, like my character is fitting more to the person that I am now, and I'm somehow looking more ridiculous. But with that in mind, is there anything in your act that has, due to you changing, becoming older, if you are getting older, I'm being presumptuous, is there anything that you think has changed?
Yeah. Well, I am getting older, and I think, the way you said that is, you put on that shirt because somebody asked you to or was uncomfortable with the other way. And, but if they hadn't asked you, you might not have done that.
Yeah.
Right. And so I don't think my show, I don't really consciously, there's some things I've consciously changed, but not those sorts of things. I haven't consciously decided, oh, I'm going to play this differently because I'm no longer, in my 30s or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe this is sort of an age thing. The people I get on stage now, especially the first person I get on stage is a woman. And it might be that in the past, when I was 20 and 30, I tried to pick a traditional good-looking woman.
Yeah.
And now it's better for me. I feel like, and I don't know whether this is just the growth of me as a person or I'm older, but an older, sort of less glamorous woman actually makes that trick better.
Yeah.
So I sort of, it's hard to say whether I consciously made that decision or just sort of drifted toward it, evolved toward that.
Yeah.
Over the years. And to me, I mean, I say my show doesn't change that much. It evolves. And my show seems to be more evidence of evolution over creationism. I didn't create it. It just evolved to the way it is.
That's really interesting. We should put a pin in that, because when I've made my notes, as you might remember, so I talk a lot about evolution, because that has been one of my favorite topics to explore apart from performance. I see a lot through that kind of lens, and I think that's a really good thing. I was just on that note, it's almost like like you said, they asked me to is there anything I can do costume-wise to not be like that for the kids? And I was, in the beginning, I was kind of like, because I had actually done that before. First time for a television show called Blue Peter, which is a British sort of television show that I did a long time ago. That was the first time when BBC then said, oh, actually, we are not okay with piercings for kids. And at that point, I got quite, I got a bit offended. But anyway, now when I did it, actually what I have then discovered doing it at events and doing it at other places, not looking so much like a wild man with piercings and tattoos, because then you're kind of expecting it to be quite crazy. Once I put that T-shirt on, I looked even more like a tennis player. And as a result, I somehow find that I look even more kind of ridiculous when I come out. And the response from the people are finding me less sort of crazy from that first second, and that it can build a little bit more.
Yeah. So, don't you want your balls still to barely almost peek out?
Yeah. Oh, but they didn't say anything about the short shorts.
Okay.
Yes. When I'm doing the kind of corporate events, I start with a bit more clothes on, and then I take it off, and I take my shirt off, and I go, I'm going to take my pants off, but don't worry, I'm not going to get completely naked, but you're still going to get to enjoy a 50-year-old man in an inappropriately tiny shorts. So in that way, it kind of went going with, I don't know if it is my age. It was just because we said that in the beginning, and I was like, oh, we're getting old. And I was like, yeah, somehow acknowledging the fact that I'm older, it makes what I do more crazy or endearing. You're going like, it's not just a 20-year-old who just had this idea last night and did it. It seems different with the age as well. I don't know. How do you feel about that? And because you have such a quirky persona as well. Like, I could really see that mature like wine.
Well, thank you. I mean, when you said that, I was kind of reminded years ago. Penn and Teller made the conscious decision to wear business suits and dress more conservatively. And I think they still do this. They have those suits made by whoever is making the suits for the current president of the United States.
Oh, wow.
And
fancy.
So Yeah, so it's fancy, but it's also, I mean, almost as conservative as it can be, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
And the contrast for them is, these guys, eating fire and throwing rabbits into wood chippers, wearing staid business suits, they felt like was a good choice, and I think that's correct also. So that sort of ties back to what you're saying about, it's more of a surprise how, out there you are if you're not, exhibiting your nipples,
Yeah, exactly. Like you expect a certain thing then. But that's actually, I heard a podcast you did, it was called like The Magic Word or something. And you did it with, two, let me see, I wrote that down here. Scott Wells.
Oh, well.
You did it together with Joel Hodgson.
You're recording this, right? So I can't say that Scott Wells is an idiot.
I don't think he listens to this podcast anyway. This is an obscure podcast in one of the furthest corners of the internet. Yeah, it's just before you get to the last page of the internet is where you find it.
This is the one right before it? Okay.
Yeah. Just before you get to the last page and you have to go out and do something else.
Right, okay.
Yeah. But now I lost my thread. But
you were talking about something I said on
that's right. And you were talking a little bit about actually what led into it was that you guys got into talking about Andy Kaufmann, and because you used to wear, and I can't remember now, but I think I saw you in 1989 in Sweden, if that was the years, 89 or 90, when you came to Sweden and did some lectures and stuff.
Yeah.
And did you still wear the?
No, I had, become Mac King instead of the Baron Maximilian von King.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was already Mac King at that point. That was a great trip. My wife came with me. We had a great time.
Yeah. It was influential.
What were you? You were like 11 or something. I don't know.
Yes, I was very young. Yeah. That was like, I didn't get paid back then when I did shows with my dad, but we went to these magic conventions, and when we were there, I could buy whatever I wanted pretty much. There wasn't a magic store in my hometown, so that was kind of like when I got to just go a little crazy. And but anyway, there you sort of said that somebody had likened you to, because you were sort of doing a foreign man, and I was speaking with
an accent, and I said, for some reason, I don't know where this came from, I said I was from Belgium. I don't know why. That particular country is what I chose at the time. I mean, I was when I started doing it, I was in, my late teens. And so, I was speaking with a foreign accent, and it was funny, and it was, it got laughs, but.
You were wearing also a traditional Norwegian hat, I believe.
I believe that is correct. Yes.
A helmet with horns on it.
A Viking helmet. Yeah. For some reason. So, as the traditional Belgians wear, that hat struck me as funny, and Belgian struck me as funny. And then the accent was just made up. It wasn't a Belgian accent. It wasn't a Norse accent. There was no, there was no rhyme nor reason to it, but these disparate things that struck me as funny. So after a while, people started saying Andy Kaufmann had shown up on the scene, and he was, way more famous than I was ever going to be, and certainly more famous than I was, I was a teenager, and so just doing stupid shows, but people kept saying, "Oh, that's really funny. It's just like Andy Kaufmann." You don't want to hear that.
No.
And so over the years, it just became, I'll tell you, it started, George Sands, the rope trick guy, sensational rope and ropesational, he came to Louisville, where I grew up, and did a lecture. And when he started doing this rope trick, he put a hat on. It was a straw hat, but he put a hat on, and he became a different person. And he was really hesitant and unsure of himself, and spoke very, sort of stuttered a little bit, and very shy character. He became a different character when he did this rope trick. And I loved that rope trick, and I started I don't want to do exactly what George Sands is doing, but I can do this other character. And so I started doing it just in the rope trick, and then I'm like, why don't I just do my whole act like this? And so, but over the years, you go, the closer you can become to you, the more, genuine you appear to the people that are watching, and the more, I think, the stronger the connection between you and them can be.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so there was the one phrase that you used there in the conversation afterwards about this thing that you wanted the audience to be a little bit uncertain at the beginning of your act with that, because there is almost a similarity in you coming out, the character that you are, that's a bit of a yokel with the
a bit, more than a bit, I think, maybe, especially at the beginning. I mean, it evolves over the course of the show. Yeah, and you get as more and more things happen, and you realize, more and more about me and whatever.
Exactly, yeah. But then when you said that, I sort of saw this link between then the crazy Belgian guy with a helmet on and the fact that you are consciously happy that they are a little bit off balance when they first meet you. And there was something also there in that conversation, I can't remember, where you said someone at the time, or somebody who was seeing you at the time, who were not getting exactly what it was that you were trying to do. And it's kind of interesting because this character is so strange that you sort of go, oh, why are you being such an oddball character? But I believe as it goes on, it grows on you. And the fact that you have this unease in the beginning means that you really get almost like a character arc in a movie, where you start and it's a little bit dissonant almost, where you go, ooh, did I actually, people said this guy was good. That's what they say now. But in the olden days, if they came and saw you, they go, oh, here we go. What's going on with this guy? And then you are pleasantly surprised as it transforms.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it seems, I've always been really lucky in that I've had a long time on stage, right? I mean, it hurts when I do television, that sort of that arc, unsure to, oh my, what's going on here? There's more to this than I thought, because that I've had the luxury of being able to develop that over time. I mean, when I worked in comedy clubs before I came to Las Vegas, I mean, I was doing 45 or 50 minutes, and it was, there was that time, and I was doing 200 shows a year like that, and then. When I started working in Las Vegas, it's an hour or up to an hour and 20 minutes some days, depending. And so there's that luxury of having that time to develop, in their minds. And so, and I've just had a lot of shows. I mean, I've always been able to do, found myself in spots where I'm working a lot.
Hence the strong addiction.
That's right.
Yeah. But the interesting thing that really struck me with when you guys were you're talking about the helmet, and I made this click, and why I'm going on about it with Andy Kaufmann and everything, is that I drifted into freak show and stuff, and started out doing magic with my dad, and then I did street shows for a while. In the meantime, when I left home and didn't know how to get gigs and needed to do shows, street is the only place where a young punk can do 3 shows a day and just keep developing and whatever. Because you basically, like what you're saying, you're working out who you are. Because I know who I am, but I am becoming myself as a showman in the meeting with the audience, because they're guiding me not just to what feels authentic to me, but what they think is authentic. So
right.
that
Yeah. No, for me, it's a back and forth like that. And, and a big key to that is being a good listener, right? I mean,
yeah.
And so, and especially in the early stages, right? I mean, that's what keeps it fresh for me too today. Doing so many shows is consciously paying attention to what's going on. But when you're working on something too, I mean, working on yourself early in your career, who are you and how do you interact with folks? Being a good listener makes a giant difference, and you are trying to figure out the best parts of you, or what you want. You don't tell them everything.
No.
Because there's not time. Even
That's
if you
exactly right.
20 minutes, right?
I use exactly that point so many times. It is, you can never be your whole you because there is no time. You have to do a selection. And this is also the case with the longest biography that you ever read of someone.
Right,
Most
exactly.
of their life is not in there.
Something that took you a week to read.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Like, and it still caught nothing of their life. But the thing that connected me to this, to you in a way that I hadn't thought of before, because I'd never kind of thought of you as somebody who in the beginning of their show and maybe in the beginning of your career wanted to have the audience be a little bit uncertain with you. And this brought me back to this. I ended up doing Freak Show or whatever, and then discovered Andy Kaufmann. And in one of the biographies about him, written by Bob Zmuda, which is his sort of writer collaborator, he writes in the prologue of this book called Andy Kaufmann Revealed. He tells the story of him going 1968, going to a freak show in Chicago at a big amusement park. There was a freak show, and in that show it was lots of crap, but towards the end, everyone had to pay another $1 or whatever, and a genuine freak came, Turco the half boy or something it was called, ran in on his arms, had no legs, ran in on some sort of contraption that swiveled on some Coke bottle, and then sang "Beautiful Dreamer." I think it's Roy Orbison. And when the song finished, jumped off the thing, opened the Coca-Cola, drank it down, and ran out doing a big burp. So, and then he says,
a real act.
Yeah, it's my act, exactly. So then he goes, and then 1,000 miles away, that same year at Hubert's Museum in Times Square in New York City, Andy Kaufmann saw that same act. And when these two met, they both talked about this of going, you were in the show, and then towards the end, this guy came out with arms as strong as legs and ran around, and they both understood the power of getting people a little bit off balance or making people a little bit uncertain. And from that story, that sort of all of a sudden made these links with the crazy comedy of Andy Kaufmann and my kind of crazy comedy where I'm sort of doing this sideshow clowning. I was already started doing my act. It sort of all sort of came together. And since then, I have kind of thought that a lot of what I do is centered on the idea of entertainment by unease. That when I say, I'm going to do a dislocation, which I say early on in the act, you think, I don't want to see this.
Right, yeah.
But then as the act goes and you learn to like me and you go, this guy is actually nice, then they allow me to take them to that place. And in the end, they're happy that they came there with me. And it was something in that structure that just all of a sudden I went, oh, wow. Because I love that when I can feel like I understand something or someone by something that I truly knows, which is the 12 minutes of the tennis or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yes. I mean, initially for me, it was like, I want to see how big I can make the sort of reaction. I mean, if the expectations are, set them as low as I possibly can. I mean, at one point I would pretend to be so shy that I had a guy drag me on stage at the beginning. And then I would stand there as long as I could stand it without saying anything. And then I howdy and my theory was, if I start this low, and I can get them up to this high by the end, the journey is big for that audience. Like, it's long. But I feel like over the course of time, it evolved to, hey, maybe I can take them on that same length of journey by starting them higher.
Yeah.
And then go higher, right? So it's less uncomfortable at the beginning for everyone, but it's still a little uncomfortable for them. They're still like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the end is higher than it would have been if I'd started out crazy low. So it's the journey's about the same length, but the finish is higher on that mountain.
It's really interesting, but it's also, I think it's, you're becoming more and more a master at presenting your character and presenting your material. And in the beginning, it's almost like, it makes so much sense to me that when you have that idea, you need to take it to its extreme. Comedy kind of lives in the extremes in a way. So, and you can't go straight to something which, the way you start now, it's like could be somewhere in the middle on that. You're not coming out and going, hey, it's showtime, and you're not being dragged out. But it's great that you tried all the way from that. Because in there, it like you then have found this sort of sweet spot where you take it as low as you need to go because you can take it higher. That's really interesting.
And, and so for me also, I've always been able to do a lot of shows. Before I did comedy clubs, I worked in an amusement park like you were talking earlier and doing, at least 3 shows a day and sometimes as many as 6, 7 days a week. And so, I've always had I've always thought of it as a laboratory, right? It's not like you got a week in between shows. You have a few minutes in between shows. And so if you think during, something occurs to you during the first show and you're like, shit, I can try that the second show and see. And it's really, makes a big difference.
It's such a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's just my laziness, right? And instead of actually writing things down, I just think, all right, shit, I'll just try that in an hour. And I don't have to write things down or spend a lot of time working out bits. I can just.
Yeah. It's in the beginning that it has that organic growth. And I find nowadays when I'm going to do something new, then the pressure is different because you're going to do a new bit, even if it's just for a one-off or whatever, for it to justify itself. You're only as good as your last performance. If I go out there and kind of bomb with some half-baked material. So now I need to work harder, but I also have more experience in what I think can work and which bits I know I can sell. So, but it still is, I feel like there's a different kind of pressure now as well to being good on the moment. But if you're out to,
you are better too. That's the thing. Overall, you're better.
Yeah, that's right. But let's go back. You've already mentioned your rope routine, which is like your opener or whatever, and then that goes back to the time then. From this, I understand that it goes back to the time of Maximilian King.
Yeah.
So
I was, I started doing that when I was like 14 or 15. Whenever George Sands came to town, I always marvel listening to your podcast when you're going, well, in '86 I did, I'm like, fuck, how does he remember what happened in 1986? Are you just making up dates? I don't know. But because I don't remember it. I don't remember in that way, certainly.
No.
But yeah, I was 14 or 15 and I started he sold these 2 manuscripts and one was, I guess the evolution of his trick. He put out this first manuscript, but by the end, the rope was completely destroyed. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It cost a piece of, it cost 8 feet or 7 feet or whatever.
Yeah.
Of rope, every trick, every performance. And I guess he claims to have gotten tired of that expense, which is, how much is that?
But maybe not so much. But still, if you're doing 6 shows. Like you said, if you're doing 3 shows in a theme park or sometimes 5, that is a lot of rope to have on hand.
Yeah, it is. But yeah. So he put out a second manuscript where reset it, where you start with a piece of rope and you already have that little short piece to begin with, and then you end, and you can use that same rope over and over again until it's filthy, I guess.
Yeah.
So I bought both of those and kind of cobbled together what I liked from each of them, and I didn't mind destroying the rope. And his ending, he had, the ending of where the rope was destroyed. I'm sure you've seen, it's like a trope now. A lot of magicians have done it, where you cut it into 16 pieces and you pretend to put them in your hand, but you only put one, and then you in your pocket and sprinkle the other 15 pieces, wolfle dust over, and it all comes out in one piece, but
it's very small, compressed.
Yeah. And I did that for a long time, and I liked it, but the audience, I was disappointed, and I felt like the audience was disappointed too. And so over the course of the years, I worked on different methods for having that, cutting into 16ths and having it go back together. And I've gone through 3 different methods for that. And so that's evolved over the course of my life, really.
Yeah. That's interesting. And then, so it's something about the technique and what it shows of the character, because it's kind of like I think one way to describe what authenticity is in the experience of the audience is when they feel like what you are doing is resonating with who you are on the inside. And when you're coming out unapologetically being a magician and you take the rope out and you start to cut it, you're so comfortable, and it is kind of ridiculous because it's such a classic. It's only magicians who take out a piece of rope and start to cut it into pieces and put it back together. So there's something in there that has fitted you from the beginning, and you're using this as your opener because it sets up your character. And
it's so, in a way, it's sort of a microcosm of the whole show, right?
Interesting. In which ways?
Well, it starts out, oh shit, the rope trick. We've all seen it.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's just the first part, there's just some gags where I'm cutting the ends off and talking about it. And that sort of adds to the uncomfortableness a little bit, because the jokes aren't that great. They're sort of,
a little math.
And so there's but as that trick goes on, it's like, oh yeah, he cut the rope in half and he put it back together. And then stuff starts happening that they've hopefully never seen.
Yeah.
Right. I take the ends off, I throw the loop of rope up in the air, and then I put the ends back on the loop. And it's like, they hopefully never seen that before. And so it's like, oh shit, this is better than we initially feared. and then by the end, it's like, holy shit, that's like, how did that happen? There weren't any false moves, and yet this, miracle's too strong a word, but it's but it's a really, 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 really strong magic trick. And so there's that arc just in that one trick. And, so that I'm trying to, make it bigger. So that's another challenge too, right? So now they've seen this arc, and how do you start back a little bit further, to start over again for the next trick, right? I mean, they're already onto you in a way.
Yeah. Because now within that first, and how long does that last? Like 8 or 9 minutes or something like that?
It's not quite that long. It's more 5. I mean, it might seem 8 to you, but
no, it's because I do a kind of rope routine that takes 12 or 13 minutes.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that happens. It takes 2 minutes just to get my shoe back on after it falls off, and a kid comes up and helps me out. So, but anyway, like that's also because then they're onto you. Now they know that there is more to you. So. Yeah. Because they've met they've wandered, and they have now got more faith in you. It's like that thing. It's a classic thing within circus where you go, if you're a juggler or whatever, do your second best trick first and your best trick last, and then the stuff in the middle one. So now you got their attention and everything. So you got some strong material, and you're deliberately starting with a NAF and you're evolving it, and then you're doing strong magic. And what is because I've heard you talk about working the comedy clubs and watching the other comedians, much work they put into their acts, and working on specific words, and also working on the structure of it. Because I'm really interested in that too. Because your show is very much like a masterclass in comedy and magic, because it has callbacks and it has repetitions and themes that goes through it. I mean, the Fig Newton and stuff that keeps sort of recurring in an evolved way. So is there when you were watching these people, was there anything specific that you remember watching a comedian, no matter who it was, but something where you go, oh, like callbacks, for instance, was that something that you were already aware of, or was it something that you saw comedians do?
I think I was already aware of it, but I wasn't aware, that of how powerful that can be. I mean, part of it is, it's a really, even like when you're a little kid, or when I was a little kid, one of the things that I saw somebody do, and it got to be cliche kind of for a manipulator even, to start out with a vanishing cane, or cane to silk, right? Yeah. Cane changes to a handkerchief. And then they end with the handkerchief turning into a cane.
Yeah.
Right? So it just, that little thing, I'm like, oh man, what a fine idea to end up where you started.
Yeah.
It makes it, the whole, whatever in between is okay, but it gives a real structure to that act, even if it's only
bookends it.
It's just internally satisfying to watch. It
sure is, yeah. It's true, and it's sometimes like with a callback, or also like sometimes if you're doing something but you're actually referencing a movie, all of a sudden he's talking about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. This feeling that you get when you're watching The Simpsons or you're watching South Park, and you go, oh, I know what these guys are talking about. It
makes the audience feel smart too. I mean, there's some element of that too, right?
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and but it's also just satisfying to be in on it. I mean, I feel like there's a number of references in my show that, most shows, maybe there's a couple in there where I'm like, no one gets that, but I don't care. One of my favorite bands is Funkadelic. I don't know.
Funkadelic.
Yeah. Do you know that band?
I don't know that band. No.
George Clinton. You know that name?
Oh yeah. Oh so yeah.
Yeah, so Parliament, and then Funkadelic was the more rock version. I mean, he had a Parliament, which was not like a sort of more poppy funk with horns, and Funkadelic was more guitars and psychedelic. And so it's like funk psychedelia, however you want to say that. And at one point, he's talking about funk, and he's doing this weird, I'm sure there's some sort of, electronic fucking with his voice, where he's going, funk, it'll blow your funky minds. And so I just love that little phrase. And so when I'm doing the cloak of invisibility, I'm getting ready to appear from nowhere. I say, get ready. This is gonna blow your funky minds. And maybe one person out of 5,000.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't believe he's quoting Funkadelic. But but it makes me happy, and it's also just a weird thing for your funky minds is a weird thing for the whitest guy in America to say. It makes me
also,
happy.
It's really odd for you. Yeah, that's exactly right. I have one of those where I say, and I will bend my body into rude and amusing shapes, and that comes from a Blackadder episode where Baldric says something like, "Going, oh, we haven't had this much fun since we found potatoes grown into rude and amusing shapes."
Yeah. And have you ever had anybody come up to you afterwards and say, "Wow, I can't believe you're quoting Blackadder"?
No, not a single person. And when we were playing in London, and now I'm blanking, Baldric, the actor who played this part, who said that line, came and saw the show. And then I got to meet him afterwards, and I said, I can't believe it. I'm saying this thing in there. Which is your line. And I could tell that he also couldn't remember this line. I mean, they must have done 100 episodes of that thing, and this one little line, not particularly funny, that was hysterical to me in that moment, so that I brought it into. So it is so obscure that the person who actually said it and inspired me didn't even remember it. So pretty obscure.
So those structures. So in my head, there was a guy who used to Mark. Shit. He'll be bummed. I can't remember if he wouldn't be listening to this. Anyway, a comic who played music also, and the structure of his act, I was a middle act for him a couple of times early on in my comedy club days. And I always loved sitting in the back watching him and, seeing how his act was structured and, all the callbacks. And so that was kind of influential to me. But I just have always liked that. It's funny. I'm really only doing what magic books tell me to do. Just, they all say, have a beginning and a middle and an end, and that's the ideal structure. And so, but just very few people do that. A lot of people are just a thing and then a thing and then a thing.
That's exactly right. So with that in mind, then, but that's the interesting thing though with yours, and why it then becomes also a masterclass, is that it's not that you are doing some mind-blowing manipulation or something like you've never seen anything like this, because like you joke about when you go, the rope trick where we're going to cut the rope and put it back together. But all the stuff that you do is done with such excellence, including this thing with a beginning, middle, and end, where you go, it's just from the magic books. It is so expertly crafted, and that's what it is, that you watch your show, and towards the end of it, it punches above its weight or somehow, like it.
It's like the sum is greater than the parts, right? Way better, way bigger. And I think that's just a function of the structure, right? I mean, it's just you're not used to seeing that in a magic show, and because that's there, I think it also functions as just a trick and a trick and a trick and a trick for some people, but for the majority of the people, and I'm really trying to get it across to people who, wouldn't even pay attention normally to that sort of in a comedy magic show. I'm trying to get it across that I put in a lot of thought.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of effort into making this the way it is, and so the people that appreciate that get something more out of it.
But this is this, like, we were touching on character before, and you went from being a Belgian Viking to being you. And part of what it is that when you come out on that stage and you go, howdy, I'm Matt King, it's awkward or whatever to some degree, but it's also authentic. But because it's like, how did that character evolve? We can talk more about, but it seems so much like a product of you, but from someone who has gone through an evolution in the same vein, to find that person who appears to be you, to be so authentic, that is not easy. And that's the same with these structures where my act is filled with seemingly random things. Yet at the end, you feel really elated, and that is based on the structure. Where the act used to be longer, and there used to be more stuff in there. And if I fall over several times, so I fall back off the stage, it is also very funny. And I have done that act, so that essentially the same act with more gags and more took almost 20 minutes. When I was in the beginning, it's you talking about them pulling you out, and I kind of I wanted it to be so chaotic that but when I finally did it in the end, it felt like a sports moment. Like, I really didn't think this guy was going to be able to do it, because then,
right.
But now I think I can do that same kind of thing, but I can do it in 8 minutes, 9 minutes shorter and still get that same thing. And it took that while, but yeah, because I really appreciate the structure in yours. And I was then kind of, just to double down on that, it's like, where were you when you went from the comedy clubs and you went in and you're going to make the show that you have now? Like, how much were you deliberately imposing structure on it?
Well, I mean, in the clubs, it still had that structure. I mean, I had the beginning and I had the end, and it's almost the same as it is now. I mean, I did the rope trick, and then I had the bill trick is sort of the next to that was the finish, and then I had to pretend on an encore where the audience would chant Matt King, and then I came back and did one more trick. That trick, the encore trick, has changed now to sort of a more bigger, larger scale illusion, because I don't have to travel with it. Yeah. And so, but but that structure with the rope trick and then the money trick at the end, and with the money trick sort of ties back to everything. I mean, the magic words from the rope trick, and then the vanishing earthworm earlier in the show, he comes back, and so all these little things that were sort of hanging out there earlier in the show somehow mesh at the end and sort of reveal that there was a master plan.
Yeah, this particular point that you say there, when it all comes back together again in the end, this is the takeaway thing in my mind from watching you when I was a child. That, like, it blew my mind at how and then I couldn't put word to it or whatever. But the fact that everything just started to happen, that the earthworm from before, because you're so used to, and when you're a kid too, I don't think of those things. I was just like, here's one trick and here's another trick, and I'm showing someone else my linking safety pins, and one of the other older magicians from the magic club is like going, yeah, well, what are you thinking to do for patter for this thing? Because I've just been standing there doing stuff, not talking, and just showing them all the stuff, and then like having this like, oh yeah, I should say something, and, like use that some. And so I'm at that level, and we're at doing magic here, and then I see something like that, and it just felt like on a whole another level. And that's so if that's built into your act, like going, what like,
what do you think what's going on in the middle of it? Because that's often the bit that most nebulous.
Like one of the things that's, those 3 tricks were my act initially. When I was in my teens, the rope trick.
Done those for 40 years or whatever.
Bill trick. So burnt bill.
Sorry, I talked on top of you. You said the rope trick?
Rope trick, then the vanishing earthworm, and then the bill trick. That was my act initially. Okay. I was working in the amusement park. I was doing shows with Lance Burton, and so we did like 30 minutes together, and we each did about 15 minutes, and then we did a thing together at the end. And then, and so that was my 15 minutes, those 3 tricks. So it always that was always the beginning, the middle, and the end that I had I've had now for 40 something years. It's crazy. And then, so any new thing that goes in, it's like, all right, how do I fit that in? And the next thing that went in was, I had learned, like Francis Carlisle's homing card, where the card jumps to your pocket twice.
Yeah.
And so then somewhere in there, I'm like, I'm going to have that card come out of my fly. Tom Mullica, when we were like 19, Lance and I drove down to see Tom Mullica at his bar in Atlanta. And so I saw that, and I'm like, do you mind if I do that in my show, Card in the Pants? And he's like, I didn't invent that. Yes, if you think you need my permission, go ahead, but you don't. And so I combined that with the card in the pocket, and now that's evolved so that most shows, unless I really need the time, if I'm doing a theater show and I got to do 40 minutes and an intermission and 40 minutes, then that card to pocket goes back in. But now the card to pocket is gone. It just starts out, the card goes straight to my pants. I get right to the dick joke.
Yeah.
And, so that card in the pants, that was the first card in the pants, and then the card ended up for the finish. Max Maven gave me this idea. He said, look, you should combine that. Billy McComb has this bit with a thumb tie and the card to wallet, and
yeah.
And that'd be perfect for you. And so I'm like fiddled around, and yeah, he's right. And so, but the stuff out of my pants added another little, that's the first time Fig Newtons were in the show too. So the woman reaches in my pocket and comes out with a Fig Newton instead of the card. Just a weird non sequitur. And so now Fig Newton's like, okay, that can be added in elsewhere. So I'm trying to, as you're doing the show, you go, oh shit, next time that Fig Newton's going to be in my shoe. Next time that Fig Newton will be, whatever. And then the card out of the pants, it's like, okay, now if something's missing, if there's some place in the show where something has disappeared, either like the first bit that came into the show was this was somebody in the audience yelled this out and now became part of the show. After the vanishing earthworm, the guy's like, "It's in your pants." Well, that's so. Now when I'm making this earthworm disappear, it's apparently in my mouth, and I, in my sleeve, not in my pants, and then I make it sound like that. So that was initially, and then it got funnier in my head. If it seemed like I was reacting to somebody who said that, no, not in my pants. And so just all these, just being conscious of how can I tie these things together? How can this trick, combine in some way with a trick 10 minutes later, or, it's just a way of thinking about it. And once you get used to it, it's like second nature, really.
anything that you have done, anything that has been referenced early on, you just keep looking for places to place it in.
I mean, I guess you don't want to overdo that, but I don't.
No, but but on that as well, if you keep this in mind, that to know the sweet spot of any of these things, you need to have put Fig Newtons going, that was actually too much, or
I don't know whether I've gotten to that point yet where I've ever felt like that's too much, but because now there's so many of those things, stuff in my pants, Fig Newton, 2 ends and a center. I mean, that was the initial George Sands thing. He would start with this rope and he would say it has 2 ends and a middle. And he went into way more of that than I do. But now, I borrow a bill and I say it has 2 ends and a center, and I rip it and restore it instantly. The worm, I pull the worm out and the worm has 2 ends and a center. And so all these little things, they just, I don't know. It also happens, I think, if you're funny off stage, right? One of the ways to be funny off stage is to reference something your friend said an hour ago, right? And that's laugh. And so it's just a sort of a style.
Yeah, it's a way to make an instant in joke with the audience.
That's right. That's right. We're all in this together,
That's also when if you're doing. I just did a gig here a couple of days ago, a corporate event, and as I was standing getting ready, a guest came into the glamorous place next to the kitchen where I was. Where they had put the star where I put my star on the door. And he said, I was wondering, do you have another dessert? And I don't know what about my attire that made him think that I there, but I said I don't actually quite know, but if you go through over there, he just seemed so jovial as he asked. So I said, why do you want a second dessert? Because it's also like he's because that was how he's put it. It's like, is there a second? Can I have a second dessert? And he goes, there is a guy in there. It's a joke we're doing, because there's a guy who just ate 2 dinners in there at the dinner. Was maybe 100 people at this party or whatever, the event. And then I said, and now I'm going to give him this, to give him 2 desserts, because he just was so hungry and he ate another dinner. So then when I came in, just knowing that somebody ate 2 dinners, I came in, I was doing my normal sort of patter about myself and about them. This was like a shipping company who owns a bunch of ships or whatever, and I was making some jokes because I knew there were several captains in the house. So I said, I'm Captain Frodo, captain of the world famous showmanship. Are there any other captains in the house? And got some back and forth. And then I said, and I heard rumors there was somebody here who ate 2 dinners. And as a result, this guy just clapped or whatever, said something, and then people gave him a round of applause. And now we had made an in-joke. So later on, when somebody whooped over in that corner, I said, and it's the guy with 2 dinners. Like I'm going, when my muscular body or whatever, I made some joke and somebody whooped, and I'm going, it's the guy who does ate the 2 dinners. And I'm like going, when I refer to my body, why is it always the guys who do the whooping or whatever? Anyway, but then it's like you're always looking for those things, and that's something that
and it's a bonding thing too for the people out there, right? I mean, it's just another tool to, make them not individuals but a collective audience, right? And
that's a great point. It's like, and that is such a big part of the job that we need to do as well. That makes them, which is why, and I know I say that when they book me to go, put me early on in the show, partly because I want to go home. But not in the show, I mean in the event. Don't put me at the end after the dessert, although that's what they did this time. I was like, because what I do, how I leave the party or how I leave this event or this conference, after that, people are talking, people are buzzing, people have a thing. And it's not me blowing my trumpet. This is like, although I can, no, but it's like you say it because it does actually unify them as a group, and they go from being a bunch of individuals to an audience, and that is part of the sort of the craft. And on that, because you perform overwhelmingly in one venue.
And once again, the way of the showman ends on a cliffhanger. I am about to ask him how, when you work overwhelmingly in one venue, how does it then feel to go into a completely different venue when you're doing a random corporate gig, or you're doing some other event outside of a show that you do just literally thousands of times in the same place? What is the difference when you go into another place? But to find out the answer to this, you have to come back to the next exciting episode of The Way of the Showman. And until then, it'd be wonderful if a few of you could write a review on iTunes. It really does make a big difference. And to find out what's going on and see what episodes comes up next, and possibly I will be sharing some little tidbits that won't make it onto the show. Just follow me or follow the podcast on Instagram, The Way of the Showman on Instagram. Apart from that, all I want to say is tell your friends, tell someone you like that is interested in circus, that's interested in magic, that's interested in thinking deeper about what it means to be a performer, and send them our way. And I promise I will welcome them like a long-lost friend. Until next time, all that's left to say is take care of yourself and those you love, and I hope to see you along the way.